Naptime Podcast. I'm Emily Schoolfield, and I'm so grateful to spend this Monday morning with you. Today's episode is called Priorities, which is, in that is procrastination and task management, which is very ironic this week because I have been just feeling not great. So recording this episode is something I've been putting off. And so I think that procrastination and task management is a great topic for me to learn, I guess, as I've been struggling with it this week. But hopefully some of the things I've been mulling over and working on will be helpful to other people as well. And I'm not perfect, so don't take it from me as if I'm telling you how amazing I am, because that's just not the case. But I would like to be, and it's something that I definitely work really hard on. So this episode kind of came about with the videos I've been seeing online of moms who put the kids down for a nap, right? And you have this whole list of things that you need to get done in your head. And it's like, sweet, baby's asleep. What am I going to get done? I need to do this, and this. And then you're stuck in this spiral of a million things to do that kind of paralyzes you and leads you to doing nothing. I obviously, at least once a week, have to sit down and create the script and what I want to do for my podcast that week, and then also create a video. So those are 2 naps during the week where I have other things to get done that kind of get pushed aside. But there are a lot of things in my life that need to be prioritized, because if I don't make them a priority, then they're not going to happen. So when life gets crazy, you really have to put it in perspective and make sure that you're touching on the most important things, because if not, then you just drown. There's always going to be something to do. I mean, becoming a mom, my list, I feel like got twice as long, and I'm sure with all the next kids down the line, it'll get even longer. So priorities and task management specifically is a great skill to have, and that's something that I work on in every season and changes every season. So I thought that'd be a good topic for us today, because it's something that applies to everyone, honestly, not just moms, but just everyone. So sharing a little bit about what I've learned, and then what God also says about priorities. So to start off, what I like to do for myself when I feel like I'm in a rut or stuck with a list of to-dos that I don't even want to look at, to be honest. I'm already exhausted. I don't want to do any more, is to create a priority list. And when I talk about a priority list, I'm not talking about necessarily laundry, dishes, vacuum, household type of chores. I'm talking more about people and just life in general, right? So for me, my priority structure, which I have to revisit constantly, is going to be God at the top, right? God is my most important relationship that I have. He is my source of knowledge, my source of peace, my source of everything that I'm going to need to get through a day, right? He will never give me something that I can't do without him. So in order to do things, I need to make sure that I am with him and connecting with him constantly. He is the top of my priority list, right? Number 2 is going to be my spouse, because Kate and I are a team, and there's nothing we can really do without each other when it comes to things that get divvied up within the house, maybe jobs that we give to him, like taking out the trash or doing our taxes, or things that I don't want to do, and then vice versa, things he doesn't want to do, like laundry and stuff that I feel like I'm better at, and that's going to be what I do. So it's going to be my priority number 2. It's going to be my spouse, connecting with him, making sure his needs are met, making sure I communicate what my needs are, and kind of just planning out what needs to get done. My 3rd priority, which I know this is kind of a hard one for some people to swallow, I know it's difficult for me, but is going to be kids. And kids do come after spouse, because if you don't have that strong relationship with your spouse, you're not going to be able to be the parents and the 2 sides of God to your children that they need. And as I've said before, the woman reflects more of the nurturing side of Christ, and the husband is more of the leader. And so those 2 things are something that a child needs for development, growth, everything. And so those 2 things need to be strong and working together to benefit your kids the most. So kids are going to be my 3rd priority. That's where I'm going to look at what Valerie needs for the week, what she needs me to get done, what events have I planned for her, play dates, things like that. And yeah, I think that's about what she would be. And then my 4th priority is going to be family. Now, my immediate family, obviously, I've taken care of. But when I say family, I'm talking outside of that. So we go to my parents, my brothers, extended to my in-laws, Kate's family. What do they need this week? What can I do for them? Any birthday parties or things we have planned, they're going to be that next priority. And then following that is going to be my friends, because it's very important that I stay involved in their lives. And so I'm going to reach out to them and text them and just see what they need from me, if there's anything I can do to help them out that week. And that's kind of giving me my base for priorities. And within that, household things, chores, grocery shopping, buying birthday gifts, coordinating rides to places, all those things are going to fall within those main, 5? Yes, 5 categories. So that is one thing I always have to circle back to, because when I have a huge list in front of me, I like to do the easiest stuff first. I feel most accomplished when I get stuff done. Doesn't matter what it is. But if I get more things done, I feel accomplished, which the issue there is that the more time-consuming, difficult tasks I'm going to put at the end, because I'm human. And that's how I like to get things done. So I need to always revisit that priority structure. Otherwise, the most important things to me aren't going to be the most important things that I do in my life. And that's not anywhere you want to be. It's a very slippery slope. Specifically with that would be my relationship with God, right? Oops, sorry about that. Let me go ahead and mute that sound. My most important relationship is going to be mine with God. And that's one that's really easy to put on the back burner, because let's say it's a Monday, right? And I got my time in my devotional. I've been praying. I feel really sound and really good about everything I've learned, my connection. And then the following day, I'm like, I got a really good time in yesterday. I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that one today, because I have more important things I need to do. Which, no. But it's very easy to do. And so then you get to Wednesday, and then you're feeling a little more exhausted. And you're like, well, I have all this stuff I gotta do. I gotta get to this first. And then it's been, 3, 4, 5 days since you read your Bible, did a devotional, and your priorities are all out of whack. And I think also with God, that's putting my priorities for myself too, because as far as my emotional ability and stability for my family, that's something that drives directly from my relationship with Christ. So other people will see if your priorities are out of whack too. So it's beneficial to everything in the priority structure that you keep those in line. Similar to my husband, if I'm not communicating with him and I'm just kind of doing what I need to do because I haven't had time to sit down with him, not necessarily a negative on either of us. We just haven't had time to refocus and figure out what each other needs. The house is kind of a mess. We might start to feel like roommates. I might feel like I'm a single parent. To him, he might feel like I'm excluding him from important events that are happening in our lives. And it's not a good place to be. So that's the importance of keeping those two specifically, I've noticed in my life, in order on my priority structure. Otherwise, they just get lost. They really do. They get lost in the mess of it, and maybe not even intentionally, but when you have so many things in front of you, it's easy to just kind of do what you see versus, what you need to be doing. So, what does God say specifically on the values of priorities? The biggest verse that I saw was going to be Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. And guys, money is a huge thing, right? I hate it because I need it. I know that it's a very slippery slope, again, to be on to be looking at a bank account and wanting to do all these things and realizing, I don't have enough money for this, so I need to put more energy into getting a side hobby, doing this, putting in more hours at work. It's so easy to get caught up in that. But the issue with money is it's evil. It's you become greedy and you start to rely on that more than you can rely on God, because any gift that we are given is from Him, and the money we are given is from Him. And it's so easy to look at ourselves and our capabilities for the money that we receive, and you just can get caught up in it so fast. And especially, I remember when I was working 40 hours a week, that was, a majority of my life was for work. And the money that came from that is how I lived. I couldn't stop working. I needed to get those hours in order to pay my rent, pay my utilities, and everything that was important. So it's very easy to get caught up in that. And what God tells us in this verse is that you can't serve two masters. And He warns us of this slippery slope. And for me, this is just the huge reminder for even when I get stuck in those ruts of worrying about money and wondering, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with our next apartment? How are we going to afford this, and this? Is to remember who is really in control of it all. And remember that you aren't in control of the money you make. You have a part to play. You have hard work that you can put in. You decide on your jobs. But at the end of the day, God is the one who gifts you that money and the abilities you have to earn it. And so he is the one that we need to rely on in those moments. And that's what makes him such a high priority on our list. Another great verse that I found was Luke 12:34. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And this, I think, really ties to the family perspective, because if your heart is in a project that you're working on or a job that you're trying to move up the ladder, I think it's great to have drive and to strive for those things and to set those goals. But you have to remember where your heart is and to put your heart in the right place, because if you're working up the ladder for yourself, then your family is living life without you, and they're, I'm sure appreciative of the money that you're bringing in, but what are you really doing it for? Are you doing it for prideful reasons, for reasons of your family? That's something that we really need to balance. And I think that's a huge thing, is when you're creating your priority structure, to just remember where your heart is and to make sure it's in the right places. Because otherwise it gets lost in the hustle and bustle of just trying to get life done. Excuse me. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to have goals, obviously. I think goals are great. I think as a stay-at-home mom, having little side hobbies that you work on, like this podcast for me, or I've done a lot of painting and writing and music-related things, and that's great to have. It's awesome. I think that you should constantly be working your brain and working on these side hobbies that you have time for. But what I have to remember at the end of the day is, if my house is not in order, if my relationship with my spouse is not grounded, and if I'm not grounded in Christ, then I have no right to be talking to you. I have no right to record this podcast. So I need to make sure that my priorities are in order and I'm getting done those things that I need to get done before anything else. And I think that's just a great reminder that God gives us. And one thing I want to say is, with these verses, one thing that I've noticed in myself is the more I lean on God, and the more I build my relationship with him, the more that the fruits of my labor just kind of come out, like the fruits of the Spirit aren't necessarily something where every day I'm like, oh, I need to be patient. I need to be kind. I need to be loving. Those are great things. But as I lean on Christ and as I know Christ more, I strive to be like him. And those things are things that are going to come out in my works as I do them, trying to be more Christ-like. And I think that's amazing. And it's a really cool thing that we get to do as Christians, being able to rely on God and that he teaches us daily. He doesn't leave us out dry. And it's just, again, recentering how important God is in everything. Who knew that God could be related to me doing the dishes? But just having a joyous heart and all those things that I do, being able to make dinner for a family, having mouths to feed, being able to vacuum up Cheerios because I have a little kiddo who throws them around, and just really putting in perspective. I think that's something that we can lose sight of so easily when it comes to task management and just procrastination in general, because we just see a list, a never-ending list. And maybe I'm more black and white than other people. Maybe, it's more of a my perspective thing. But I just get very lost in the day-to-day. And so that's why I think it's so important as stay-at-home moms and just moms in general, that we have that priority structure and we have that priority list. And we use that in our day-to-day lives in order to get the things done that we need to get done and to bear the fruits of God and all these amazing attributes that come with being a Christian, and really having Christ in your life. What priorities are being replaced is another question that I ask myself when I get stuck in weeks like this where nothing is getting done. For me this week, one of the biggest things that was being replaced was rest, because I was so quick to see my list of duties and feel exhausted and tell myself that I wasn't getting done what I need to get done. The house is a mess. Dinner needs to be made. Valerie's crying because of this. Cade needs support with this because he's been working all day and I can't expect to pull this from him, and all these different things. What I forgot to do was just to rest, because that's not on my list. The things I have to get done, rest is not one of them. But with the time I took to just sit down and pray and take a moment with Christ, he just told me to take a nap, which was amazing. And I did take a nap. I really did. And it felt wrong, but it wasn't. It was exactly what I needed, because when I woke up, I just had such a clear head, and I felt like I was finally able to really lay out what I needed to get done, and realize that I was overwhelming myself with all of these tasks that didn't need to be done today. I had all week to get them completed. This episode didn't need to be recorded on Monday, being recorded on a Thursday. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's so easy to just get bundled up with everything that you have that you're frustrated with. And I think that we need to recognize what priorities are being replaced or what are being, moved around. That's putting us in this situation where we feel like we need to hold on really tight to our list and just knock the things out. But I think money is also a huge, again, something that is so big and a priority that's replaced all the time, because money is required to make the world go round. I mean, if you do a work or you do something for someone else, I mean, there's a repayment for that. If I need something from the grocery store, I have to pay for it. That's how it works. So money is something that's so required. But because of that, again, it's so easy to just rely on it, to think on it for so long. And I am very guilty of this. My husband is a lot better at not being guilty of this and reminding me to take a deep breath and realize, money is not the issue in the scenarios we're talking about, but our trust in God is. And I think that priority is one that gets replaced very often and put where God is. And it's a very dangerous place to be. It's not anything good. It's not anything that we want to strive for. So recognizing that in yourself, I think, is going to be the first step in making that change, and recognizing any stress or anxiety you have around money or financials, and really just giving it to God, because I get it. It's really hard to sit on and to just kind of dote on and think on when you're in a stressful situation, because you know that, well, if I had more money, then we'd have a bigger apartment. If I had more money, then Kate wouldn't have to work as much. If I had more money, then this, and this. So you can just go down this huge rabbit hole, but it's life. Life is struggling with all these things, and that's why we need God so close to us. And sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. The biggest distractions, I think, specifically with money, are going to be comparisons, right? When we think about our life, it's very easy to compare it. For me, I compare it a lot to my childhood and how I was raised. I compare my financial decision to that. I compare my mommying, or how I mother, to my friends and to other people I see mothering their children. And I think that skews a lot of priorities, because then we see things that are going well for other people and we assume, oh, everything must be great. They're doing great at this. I can do great at that too. Which you can be a great mom and you can be financially stable. Those aren't bad things, but it's how you get there, and that you're not obsessing over them, and that you're really trusting God's timing with when finances are coming through or what jobs are going to be offered to you. And as a mom, you're relying on Him for wisdom and people in your life that you can have, like accountability partners, versus, again, just obsessing on something on your own and trying to be the best at everything. And I think those become huge distractions when it comes to priorities, because you set all these goals for yourself that go above everything else. And that can start to kind of skew your day-to-day and also create more to-dos that don't really need to be there. So I think those are some of the biggest reasons for procrastination. Again, the easy button, picking easy tasks over the harder ones, is a great way to procrastinate, because you can tell yourself, well, I got 4 things done today, I only have 1 left, I'll do that tomorrow, when in reality the 1 is what you needed to get done and the 4 are just minimal. So those are things that I'm currently working through and trying to just create a list, again, based on that priority structure. I really think priorities, that structure, is going to be the key to everything that runs in your home and is done in your home and just your life in general, and being able to get everything done that you need to get done. So how do we eliminate distractions? Well, as I was kind of saying, we need to focus on the daily reminders for our priorities. We need to For me, the night before, I need to kind of have an idea of what my day looks like. Because if I don't have an idea of what my day looks like, then maybe I'll sleep in, or I'll forget that I have an appointment, or I'll forget that something needs to happen and maybe take some time to do something else. And then we get to the end of the day and I go, oh, I forgot. So in order to eliminate distractions, I try to, more weekly than daily, meet with Cade. Again, that's going to be priority number 2, your spouse. I try to pray with God daily. That's going to be priority 1. And I try to schedule out what my days are going to look like, mainly focused around Valerie, which is going to be my priority 3. While also adding in, oh, we'd love to have people over for dinner, or we'd love to see this person this week, or I really need to reach out to this person this week in order to reach those other priorities. And again, for my first 2 priorities, making dinner and scheduling out all those kinds of things, because a schedule for me is the only way things get done. When I was single, I was able to wing it a lot easier, but now that I have more responsibility, I have to decide what to do with that. And priority structure and priority lists and task management is something that has made me a better mom, a better wife, and honestly, a better homemaker. So I think those are one of the biggest things that need to be done to eliminate distractions. And also balancing wants versus needs, because there are going to be a lot of things during the week that I want to get done. One of the big things that has kind of been put on the back burner for a couple days for me is sourdough bread, right? I love to make sourdough bread because I think it's great to have on hand. I love to eat it. Valerie loves it. We can make some fun dinners, but it's not necessarily a need. And something like that takes out a couple hours of my day when Valerie's awake and maybe wants me to play with her, and it just becomes more harm than good when I take some time to do that on weeks that I don't really have the time, because it's a time-consuming process, and I think it's worth it. I think it's great, but I have to balance, the other things that need to get done and the time that I'm away from the house during the week that I might not be there, in order to do what I need to do. So balancing those wants versus needs, and I think that's something that you should also do with your spouse, because something that might just be a want for me might be more important to Cade, or something that I see as a need might not actually be a need when put in a different perspective. So those are good things to balance off of each other. But with that said, okay, so we have an idea now in our minds of how we're going to make a task list, how we're going to prioritize our day-to-day, but what about accountability? I think that's a huge thing. I think my husband and his best friend, I don't understand them at all. I think they're great. It's all in good ways, but they have been each other's accountability partners since before I was in Cade's life. And I think that is something that is so cool, that even to this day, Cade is so good at reaching out to him, or him reaching out to Cade and just talking about their situation in life and things that are going on, and really holding each other accountable. And they've been able to have a super cool, unique experience where they both got married within 6 months of each other. And then we started families within a year of each other. So we've been very similar in our time of lives. And I think that's been great for Cade. And I'm so happy he has a friend like that. And that's one thing that I really strive to have as well, is an accountability partner, because I can have my own personal discipline, which is something I'm going to constantly work on with Christ. But accountability is something that is so huge. Not only does it help you to really have things put in perspective, or maybe be told what you need to be told, because we all need someone like that. But it also gives you kind of an uplifting, like, all right, we're doing this together. Someone knows what's going on. Someone's aware of the things I'm achieving and also helping me with the things I'm not achieving. And I think that's a really cool partnership to have, even outside of your spouse, having a great girlfriend who you kind of check in with, like, hey, it's been a crazy week. How's it going over there? Or someone to check in with you and be like, hey, you told me that you wanted to run a mile by September, or I don't know, hypothetical. How's it going? Have you been running? Oh, no, I haven't been running. Well, you should get out there. An accountability partner is just great. So I really want to challenge all of us today to reach out to someone that you think would be a great accountability partner, whether they're close to you or far away. I think texting and calling are equal ways to have an accountability partner, or someone who's close to you and kind of sees you in more of a day-to-day that can also hold you accountable. I want you to pick someone in your life just kind of reach out, message them, and ask them like, hey, can we be accountability partners? I got all this stuff going on that I want to get done. I've got these things I'm struggling with. How about you? And I think that's a great way to just build community, even with just one person. I mean, it doesn't have to be 5 people that you're communicating with, but if you can keep up with 5 people, do it. I think that's great. But that's one thing I want to challenge us to do, is to find that accountability partner and also be that accountability partner for someone. I have a couple friends that I can touch base with. I try to do it at least once every couple months because they live far away and they've got stuff going on, but I'd like to check in and see how they're doing. And one that is definitely an accountability partner that I kind of reach out to her and I'm like, hey, so, and she gets to hear every story of just everything I'm doing right and wrong. But it's been something that's been so great. And if you can find someone who is also in a similar stage of life, I think that's amazing, because I love all my friends, but there are some friends who aren't moms and aren't married and they just don't get it, and that's okay. But an accountability partner I need for those specifics. It's really helpful to have someone who's in that time of life or has done that time of life to, kind of work through problem solving and those kinds of things with. So let's go ahead and take a second real quick to just think about who we want to message, and be sure to message them. If not during this podcast, then definitely at the end. But I think it's amazing. And an accountability partner is going to be such a huge help, especially if you feel like you're in a rut right now. And the whole idea of making a list of to-dos and task management just kind of makes you want to cry. I get that. I have weeks like that where I look around at what I need to do and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. But just having someone to do it with who it's just great. I think it's awesome. And of course you have, your spouse as well, who's a great accountability partner. And I think they specifically are amazing because they can teach you to dream. I mean, when Kate and I used to date, we would sit in the car until like 3 a.m, just sitting, to be clear, nothing else. And talk about the dreams that we had and the things that we wanted to do when we grew up. And the things that we wanted to see. And now I feel like life has gotten so real and dreaming is impossible because everything has been put into perspective. Responsibility has been put on our shoulders. It's really hard to dream. But I think as a spouse, it's my job to kind of look at Kate and be like, Kate, what's your dream? Like, what am I working towards? What do you want to do? And not put the pressure of, oh, this has to happen, but we have all these things to do, but really just dreaming together. And I think that's something that makes every task just feel so much lighter because you realize this is not forever. I'm not stuck in this day-to-day forever. This is just the time right now. And the things that you'll miss, it's bittersweet. Things that might be frustrating now, you'll look back on and it'll be amazing. But I think in the time you are right now where things are frustrating, like Valerie's attitude recently or just things like that, and just kind of dreaming about, oh, well, one day we'll have all these kids and we'll have all the space for them to run around, and it really helps you get through the now. Even though I've been told by multiple moms I will miss this time of life, which, okay, I'm trusting you, but it's been a little hard this week. But accountability partner with your spouse and accountability partner with a friend, I think it's great to have. And not only that, but I think it teaches your child how to set desires into goals. Seeing you in a position where you're like, yeah, I really want to get this done, but it's kind of hard. Seeing you create a healthy priority list and make sure that they're all taken care of while also achieving your dreams or goals, I think is a really cool thing for a kid to see. Because Valerie, I never want her to think something's impossible. If she has a dream, she wants to do it, I am there by her side. Within reason. But I think it's a cool example too as a mom, because they look at everything you do. Valerie knows me better than I know myself already. The things that she does, I have no idea how she knows. But it's a really cool way to be a good example to your kids. And with chores, once Valerie can do chores too, having that organized task list, I think is great, because then you can kind of start divvying those out, and it's not something that you're creating or making up on the spot, but it's how you kind of run your house. And kids love being an environment of order and structure. They love having structure in their life. And I think that as they grow too, they will start to show those aspects or personality traits in themselves as they learn them from you. So it's a good skill to learn. It's a hard one. Every chapter, like I've said, it's a whole new skill to learn. But I think because I learned things when I was single and had to, learn from doing things wrong, I was able to pick myself up and kind of learn just the specifics to being an organized person and be able to apply that to every new stage as I continue to fail and learn new things. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I have as far as priority structure. But I think, again, with excuses, it's very easy to have an excuse for things that you don't want to get done. I am terrific at putting walls where there aren't any. And I want to just kind of caution us when it comes to 2 Corinthians 10:4-5. We see that the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Sorry, there's a little issue reading there. But this is such a powerful verse to me because it really shows how the enemy sets itself up to be against us and how easy it is for us to make all these excuses when the enemy is talking to us and telling us things. And the only way we can demolish it and we can know the true things that are said through Christ is through the knowledge of God, through the words that he gives us in the Bible, through prayer, through talking with him, and through learning him. And these are the real weapons that it takes to demolish. The things of the world aren't going to do anything. And excuses, they're just so easy to fall into. It's so easy to make. And so it's a reminder, again, just how important God is to be the priority in your life. Are we sensing a trend here? Yes. But there's just so many examples just through day-to-day and the issues, or not issues, but the weaknesses we have as humans of excuses and distractions and all these things that are put in front of us, and how through and through it's the same answer, God and Christ, and he will give us what we need. And he is just a great resource, a great God, an amazing God to just lean on. And so if you don't get anything from this besides first priority being God, I think that is just such a huge thing. And I think that any rut you're in right now or any frustration you're facing, putting God first is going to just open your eyes, give you a whole new sense of clarity. And he really is amazing. All day long I could share my testimony of specifics on how he's worked in my life. But if we just look at Emily's week this week, he has taught me rest, and that is something that I needed. I didn't know I needed it, but he's reminding me every day it is something I need, and I'm able to rest and still get all of my task lists and priorities done. And that is something that is only possible with him, because I can't, as a human, come up with the ideas that he has, but he gives us his wisdom. And that is something that we can rest in. And what a blessing that is for just everything, any situation we come into. So that is what I have as far as priorities and task management. Maybe it was a little bit of babbling or just going down my own little rabbit holes, because this is something that's very near and dear to me this week specifically, and something that I really struggle with. I don't think that this is an episode that I speak of because I know what I'm doing, but in reality, it's something that I think God, he helped me come up with because I needed to hear it. So really cool. I really like this topic, and I think it's great, and I think it's something that I'll kind of think on for the next couple days and time to come. So with that said, a reminder to find an accountability partner. Reach out to someone, reach out to me. I need some more accountability partners. I'm happy to take them in. Next week is something I'm very excited about. Unfortunately, Anne Reese has a couple things going on, so her episode's going to be a little bit later because of scheduling issues. But we're going to have Joy Wren on for becoming mama, and she's going to share her perspective on having kids and just the changes that happen with each one, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and get some wisdom from her, because I love to hear from moms who are experienced and more progressed than I am, and get some feedback from them and kind of build on those ideas. So I'm super excited for that. And if you're interested, definitely take a listen next Monday. And with all that said, I think that's about all I have for today. So I hope that you have a wonderful Monday, and I pray that your week is very well managed and restful. And I pray that God is in your life every day and that you feel his love overwhelmingly. All right. Have a good Monday.